Hi, folks. Dave Brown here with the New Populist on a very interesting Monday. I'm guessing you know what I'm going to talk about, the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. It feels a little surreal still that this actually happened, but this is the timeline we live in. You know, in my previous videos, I've always ended by saying anything could happen, anything is possible. And I meant that. But I didn't quite think that this was possible, and it was, and it did happen. And they, whoever that they is, tried to take out Donald Trump. So very interesting times. Now, Donald Trump is not the only person that has been targeted with assassination. Actually, other Trump sympathetic or right-leaning figures have also been shot. We have Robert Fico in Slovakia. Imran Khan in Pakistan, he was shot. He was a more Trumpian-like figure who was at odds with his own Pakistani deep state, which we know is aligned with U.S. intelligence. So he was shot. Trump's friend, Shinzo Abe in Japan, he was assassinated. So this is not as rare as you might think, but certainly when it's a American presidential candidate, that's a even bigger issue. Obviously, the last American president who's been shot was Ronald Reagan in '81. So it's been over 30 years or over 40 years since this has happened. But it did, and we are all sort of still in shock. Now, it feels like we're living in one of two timelines. It seems like we're living in the wrong one. It almost seems like he was supposed to have died. Just when you look at the response from the Secret Service and how it's all set up, it almost seems like it was supposed to happen, and we got incredibly lucky that at the very last second, Trump turned his head and changed the angle so that bullet just grazed his ear. If he hadn't done that, he's a goner. It would have blown at the back of his head, and we'd be having a different conversation right now. And it almost seems like that was destined to happen. That was the plan. That's what they wanted. And for whatever reason, it didn't happen. Instead, we have this triumphant picture of Trump with his fist up and the blood on his face, which is, going to be, it's iconic and will go down as one of the most amazing photos in U.S. history or even world history. So we really lucked out here. I mean, my God, we lucked out big time. And now he's positioned to hopefully win this election. But that's 4 months off. And like I said in my past videos, anything can happen. And now I really mean it. Anything could happen. But I do have a question. Had Trump been killed, what would we have done about it? Because I always make the point that what they do is based on their fear of us. If they think they can get away with something, they will do it. I'll give you an example with the, what's his name, Jeffrey Epstein. They killed him. They took his client list. They deep sixed that so no one can see it. Isn't it funny how everything leaks out except that? So what did we do about that? What do? We went on Twitter or X, and we cried about it. Facebook, we cried about it. But what did we actually do? Nothing. So if Trump had been killed, what would we have done? And my guess is ultimately nothing to change anything. And if they, whoever they are, believe that we won't do anything, and I'm not saying we should, but what I'm pointing out is that if they're not afraid of some real repercussions from us, there's nothing to stop them. And clearly, shooting Trump is something within their repertoire. And of course, not to be conspiratorial about who did it. I think it's clear by now, at the very minimum, the way things were set up there in Pennsylvania was absolutely abysmal as far as protection. And that roof there, when you see it there, it's so close, that one big roof people screaming, "Hey, there's a guy there. Do something about it." And the cops are, Keystone cops down there. Oh, what's going on? At a bare minimum, even if you don't shoot the guy, you take Trump off stage until you understand what that threat was. And the fact that he was up there for a couple of minutes and people were screaming and there was no response from the Secret Service or the cops or no coordination, very suspicious. And we can only speculate. Why was it that bad? Was it, incompetence, or was it something else? And I'm not too big a believer in coincidences anymore. Not anymore. So I'm very skeptical that this was just a botched protection detail. I think there was something more afoot here. Kind of reminds me of 9/11. People get too conspiratorial when they say that. They think there was bombs in the trade centers and it collapsed. I'd never believed that for a second. What I do think is plausible, hear me out, is not that the government planned 9/11 or, I think there really was terrorists, but what they might have done in 9/11 is just stand down. Let it happen so you can get your wars in the Middle East. And I think the towers collapsing was sort of a unexpected thing that they weren't planning out. So I think that's a more plausible conspiracy theorist or theory as far as 9/11. Not the government planned it, but they saw it coming and just said, take a step back, just let's let it happen. Real terrorists, real plot, real bad guys, and we can always, if you do it yourself, then obviously you're putting yourself in a position to where if you get caught, obviously that's terrible and you're screwed. But if you just sort of stand back, let real terrorists do it who want to do it, and you can always claim, oh, we're just incompetent, bumbling fools, and now we need to create the Homeland Security Department. We need the Patriot Act. We need to give ourselves all this control to stop this future attack that might happen, when really the past attack is because of our incompetence. Not because of our incompetence, because we actually let it happen. So with this assassination attempt, I don't think the government did it, but I do think there's the possibility, a very, very strong one, that they sort of just said, let's pretend to be incompetent. Let's pretend that we don't know what we're doing. Let's pretend that we had all these issues and we just screwed up. And let this 20-year-old kid crawl up there and take a shot at the president or, the ex-president. And again, this close, you turn your head. We have a different story today. So that's my suspicions about this assassination attempt. Not that the government planned it or did it, but they're hiding behind incompetence as their excuse for why it happened, when really they were purposefully incompetent. That's my thoughts, at least, on that. Now, what about Trump himself? He apparently gave an interview where he's talking about changing his tone for the Republican National Convention and being a unifier. And I think that's a good thing. We certainly don't want to ramp up the rhetoric. And people always complain about Trump not being presidential enough. There might be some irony in that by having this experience, Trump, you have a bullet hit your ear. Maybe he's having, that moment where you kind of rethink things, and you get that real jolt where you go, wow, let me reevaluate my way of thinking. So it would be ironic that this experience actually makes Trump more presidential, more reflective, and actually, makes him more appealing to more people because he tones down his rhetoric and tries to reach out to more people. So in a weird way, this could actually help him reach more people if it softens his personality. Now, do we want that? Is that a good thing? Because today on Monday, we're already starting to see people move on from the event. And what do I mean by that? We're starting to see some people on the left go right back to where they were before this happened, being over the top, accusing Trump of all horrible things and saying he's obviously the Orange Hitler. And so we had that moment, after the attempt on Saturday and Sunday where people were saying, calm down, but we're already seeing that coming to an end. And the left is like, okay, you had your moment, Trump's Hitler again, and we need to do something about him. So I wonder if Trump becomes a little more, a little softer here. Is that a bad thing in the sense that the left hasn't changed, and more than anything, they're upset that the guy missed, and so I suspect as we go through this week, those good feelings of unity that people talked about on Sunday is going to fade away, and we're going to be right back to where we were before this assassination attempt, with the left being rabid, and which makes me wonder if people on the right, we can't let our guard down. We think this is a moment where he, wins the election because, my God, at this point, why would you vote for Biden? Give it a week, give it 2 weeks, give it a month. The left's gonna, go right back to what they were before, and we're gonna be in that dogfight. So that's really my concern here. Can we actually reconcile the two sides and come together? And ultimately, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we're too far down this rabbit hole. I think we're too divided, and Trump is too polarizing. So give it a few more weeks, and we're going to be right back to where we were before this happened. But I do think for those independents, for those moderates, in those swing states, I do think this moment was big for them, and will give Trump that nudge. And perhaps if Trump is a little calmer, a little more presidential, that will convince some of these soccer moms in these suburban areas to vote for him. So from an electoral standpoint, this will help Donald Trump. But we can't be complacent because, like I say at the end of all my videos, it's crazy right now and anything could happen. So stay strapped in. It's July 15th, almost 4 months left. My God, what's going to happen next? This reality show is crazy. So crazy times. Well, that's it for now. If you're new to my channel, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.